My name is Anders Hviid, and I'm the head of epidemiology research here at Statens Serum Institute, which is sort of equivalent to the CDC in the US. I'm primarily an epidemiologist. I've been doing studies on vaccine safety and effectiveness for more than 2 decades now. Yeah. So I would say the validity of our study really comes from the data, the source data, the very unique situation that we have here in Denmark and the other Nordic countries. Every citizen in Denmark has their own unique ID, the CPR number. This CPR number is used in all our registries, and we have many registries, and they are nationwide. And as you may know, we have a sort of universal and free healthcare system. And that means that we can sort of follow the whole Danish population really over time, over many, many years, with complete and detailed information on sort of healthcare. For example, in this case, which vaccines the children have received, when they've received them, and what happens later on with respect to different diagnoses. Of course, it's also, you mentioned sort of validity. This is an observational study, so we are always concerned about comparability, right, between the two or more exposure groups that we look at. Again, having access to a lot of different registers allows us to pull in information also from these registers to enrich sort of the analysis and try to take these differences into account. Could be something like socioeconomics, right? I mean, you could look at it two ways, right? One way is to say that there's quite a lot of research that has actually looked at aluminum-containing vaccines, because many of our vaccines are used today in the childhood immunization schedules do contain aluminum, and we do and have done for many years careful safety evaluations of these vaccines. But what's particular about our study is that we sort of separate the effect of a vaccine from this ingredient, right? So the variation is in the amount of aluminum received through vaccination. And that is in contrast to what I talked about before, comparing vaccinated to unvaccinated children, where you're basically comparing the vaccine with the adjuvant to nothing at all. And these studies are quite common, whereas our study is more rare. Study is sort of able to disentangle the impact of the aluminum adjuvant ingredient. You could say, in one way, our study here was inspired by a previous US study from 22-23, a CDC study which looked only at asthma. They found a slightly increased risk of asthma by 5 years of age associated with increasing amounts of aluminum received through vaccines. I was informed by CDC colleagues of this and asked if I could sort of try to reproduce their results. And that's how it started. And we did that, and also presented these preliminary findings at an earlier ASIC meeting. And then we have sort of expanded and built on top of that with a huge range of outcomes that we look at. But specific large epidemiological studies able to disentangle the specific effect of the aluminum adjuvants, they're relatively rare. Yeah, so I'd say it's important to just continue to monitor vaccine safety, and including the vaccines that use aluminum. That's important to basically maintain the public trust in the schedule. I would hope that other researchers are inspired by our study and are starting to think if they could do something similar with their data, because it, of course, be wonderful to get studies reproducing our findings. And then from our perspective, I think we have this large cohort, and we will be able to continue following up these children for these outcomes in higher age groups. And we have also talked about looking into the possibility of trying to see if there's a link between aluminum adjuvant and cognitive issues, where we will use, as I mentioned, we have registers for everything. So we have also sort of the mid-school grades. So what is the school level you're at just before high school? There we have sort of the math, the Danish grades, etc. And so they would be a wonderful way to sort of to see use as a proxy for cognitive issues to see if there's a link between aluminum adjuvant and cognitive issues, and that would be a supplement to this current study where we are sort of focusing on more hard endpoints resulting in a clinical diagnosis in the healthcare system.